Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Gina. I'm going to do a few flip throughs tonight, sitting in front of the gas fire because it's freezing cold outside. I'm going to be holding my camera, so it might be a little bit jerky, and I'm going to try and trick YouTube into not slamming me with any copyright stuff, because instead of Elvis, I'm playing this Made in the USA LP hits the 50s and 60s. Starting off with Peter Gunn, Blacksmith Blues, Bebop Alula, Teenage Crush, and so on. So we'll see how we go. The reason why I'm not playing Elvis, to start off with anyway, is because I'm going to do a flip through of this book, Remember the 50s, because a number of my subscribers have asked about it. It sounds interesting. Now, I haven't played the DVD. I got it. It took a while to get out of the cover. It's sort of stuck in there. But it goes for half an hour, and I thought, oh look, it's getting late at night, and I just want to do a flip through the actual books, a few other things before I start watching DVDs. So Elvis is in this book twice. I'll just go through the index so you can see what it's all about. Oops. Korean War, the bomb, Marilyn Monroe, the Hungarian uprising, the space race, the Cuban Revolution. They're the sort of the main topics, and then it's broken. No, 1953. No, that's funny. Okay, 1953, the polio vaccination. 54. 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Yeah. So as I said, Elvis is in it twice. And the first bit is relating to 1956. People rock and roll. So here he is. It left Elvis alive at Olympia Theatre, Miami, Florida, on the 14th of August 1956. The mother of one of Elvis's young fans said, I just came because the kids wanted to. I was curious. Now I know. Look at him. He looks like a hound dog in heat and sounds like a sick cat. And this photo over here. The young Elvis attends to his hair as manager Colonel Tom Parker discusses terms with Ed Sullivan. It was Elvis's second appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, 28th of October 1956. It says here track number 29, so obviously there's on the DVDs probably a bit of Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show. Oops. And the second bit is 1958, when Elvis is drafted into the Army. In March 1958, the US Army drafted Elvis Presley. Presley takes the lead at the induction centre and is sworn in. On the right, Private Presley marches to barracks at Fort Chaffee Reception Centre. And above, in his number 1 uniform, Elvis contemplates the years ahead. He spends more time with his guitar than a gun. Well, I don't think that's quite right. Yeah, so I'll just do a brief, just little wavy sort of flip through the book so you can get an idea of what's in it. It really is fascinating. The different cars that were brought out, the wars that were on, the politicians, events. This was the drive-in, Charlton Heston on the screen as Moses and the Ten Commandments there. People of numerous gas-guzzling Buicks, Oldsmobiles and Mercuries sip their cokes, munch their popcorn, and in some cases get down to a little petting at the drive-in. Yeah, a lot of petting. Bridget Bardot. No, that wasn't her, the other one was here. Let's see. TV, when television first came in. It's a desegregation in the South in America. James Dean, when he was killed. Princess Margaret, when she was forced to break up with her boyfriend, the man that she was going to marry. Who's that? Ruth Ellis. Okay. Disneyland in 15th of July 55. The world's greatest amusement park opened in Anaheim, California. Disneyland was an immediate success. There's Walt Disney there. So like I said, if you were born in that area, well, even if you weren't, but generally, you more so if you were, Marilyn, you do remember a lot of these things. I was only a kid, but I do, I remember remember them, or remember hearing about them. In the early 50s, of course, I mightn't remember so much, but again, I remember hearing about things that were happening. Okay, the coronation of Queen Elizabeth, 1953. Polio injections. Charlie Chaplin, Dwight Eisenhower, yeah, National Servicemen, the Olympic Games. That was in 1952. Yeah, atom bombs being exploded. So, right, great stuff, really great. Okay, the second thing I'm going to do a flip through is talk about is the book Hound Dog, the Leiber and Stoller Autobiography, because I've had quite a few of you ask about that. As I said, I read it I am a fast reader, but I read this real fast. I just couldn't put it down. It was so interesting. Being a speed reader, you don't always read word for word, but you skim through paragraphs. So I'll probably read it properly at a later stage, slower. But I'll just concentrate after this exercise on what they say about Elvis. So the contents: East Coast roots, West Coast convergence, making the scene coast and absolute harmony, Hound Dog, which of course is about Elvis, and it goes on to, oh no, hang on, no, that's not right, no, a little bit about Elvis about that, but in the King's Court there's more about Elvis. And no, it's just talks about all the people they worked with over the years. It's the first Hound Dog record by Big Mama Thornton. So the book it's sort of in their own words. So it's Leiber talks or writes, and then Stoller does his version of what they're talking about, discussing. It's photos of their family, married, had kids and so on. So a lot of photos of them with different artists that they work with over the years. Radio recorder studio in 1957. Elvis gets mentioned a bit in the early part, but he's got pretty much a whole chapter devoted to him, which I'll just flip over, called The King's Court. Stoller said, I guess it must have been April of 57 that we met Colonel Parker for the first time. It happened over dinner at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Gene Emberbach was the conduit. The Colonel wants to see you in person before you meet Elvis, he said. Is this an audition, I asked. The Colonel's very careful about who he lets into Elvis's circle. Well, I'm very careful about who I have dinner with, said Jerry. Gene didn't laugh. Just be on your best behaviour, he said. Good on you, mate. I think that's funny. Okay, the Jailhouse Rock. Sheet music. And then I talk about a bit about the Colonel, but then Leiber says, my heterosexual credits had long been established. In other words, he was a womaniser. So I can comfortably say that the first thing that hit me when I walked into the recording studio and found myself standing next to Elvis Presley was his physical beauty. Far more than his pictures, his actual presence was riveting. He had a shy smile and quiet manner that were disarming. And there they are together, California, 1957. On the day we met Elvis, he was 22 and we were 24. We were contemporaries. Jerry and I share the uppity view that he and I were among the few white guys who knew about the blues. In the first 5 minutes of conversation with Elvis, we learned we were dead wrong. Elvis knew the blues. He was a Ray Charles fanatic and even knew that Ray had sung our song, The Snow is Falling. In fact, he knew virtually all our songs. There wasn't any rhythm and blues that he didn't know. He could quote from Arthur Big Boy Crudup, B.B. King and Big Bill Brinzy, yeah. Leiber says, when it came to the blues, Elvis knew his stuff. He may not have been conversant about politics or world history, but his blues knowledge was almost encyclopedic. Mike and I were blown away. So it's really very, very positive stuff. I mean, you know, if you want to read about Elvis, this is the sort of stuff you want to read by the professionals, the people that worked with him. Elvis was at Mike and radio recording studios, so I'm not going to read the whole lot, but it's certainly worth buying the book for what he says, what he writes about Elvis. All these pages I'm flipping over are pretty much all about Elvis. And then he goes on to what else they did after they sort of worked with Elvis on and off after that, but not as much as they did in the 50s. So, yep, good book, great book in fact. Next, I'm going to flip through these magazines that I bought. Why were they so expensive? This one, $33.95. Well, I've later found out that it sells on eBay between $100 and $200 Australian dollars. Why? That's just a great magazine. It's an Australian production, obviously some glossy photos could write up. Excuse me. But it must have been a limited edition of some sort because, yeah, to attract that kind of money on eBay now, well. So, I used to collect a lot of magazines early days in the 50s or in the 60s when I was a kid and buying the magazines, and then I sort of left them all behind. When I got remarried, I'm starting to sort of rebuy a few of the old ones now, but the older magazines weren't as good as what the things like vintage rock and that are these days. So, you know, these days they're very professional, glossy and so on. Although I think the write-ups of the older magazines in the 50s and 60s were better because they were there when Elvis was alive and they couldn't really write much bullshit because he was around. But yeah, nice photos in this. There's a poster which I'll get to. Memorabilia. Elvis rocks the 60s. Yeah. Elvis, there's a quiz. I went through it. I think I've got 50 questions. I think I've got 49 of them right. Elvis years 33.77. Okay, 35.77. So, what's in the Assassins? Oh, it's an article in Photo Play magazine back in the 1950s, I think. Yep, Elvis written with murder. Well, that later the same year, President JFK would be assassinated in Dallas, a town not so far from Memphis. Yeah. So the articles are interesting, different. About his movies, an article about that. They made him rich and left him disillusioned. Well, Elvis, you have your movies, sorry. Well, most of us did, the older ones of us. Elvis rocks the 70s, discography. There's an article by Ronnie Tutt about Elvis, or when he worked with him. Larry Muhrberick, pianist, with Elvis. Of course, the women and Margaret Juliet Prowse, and so on and so forth. The Colonel, the King. Yeah, Forever Elvis, and that's sort of a write-up of, let me see what they say. When Elvis switched from movies back to performing in concert at Las Vegas at the start of the 1970s, the show ran like clockwork. There was only one glitch for the promoters. Fans from around the world, from around America, and those who had travelled the world to see Elvis just didn't want the show to end. If they had their way, the King would still be doing encores. The crowd won't shuffle out discussing what they had just seen and felt, many of them already holding tickets for next show. Then they would disperse and return to their various cities and countries as devout as ever. Yeah. In 2002, Elvis Presley returned to the international scene, capturing a generation of new fans who will look beyond the soccer hit at his songs and movies. For many, there will always be the music of the times, like rap and whatever replaces it, and quite separately, there will always be Elvis. In this sense, the King has returned to the building forever. Isn't that nice? Yeah. So, the poster is a ripper. I'd like to frame this, but I've run out of space on my walls. So, I'll probably stick it up from time to time. When I can find a spot when I move things around. So, let's see. Stand up. Oh, it's a bit hard. It's a pretty big poster. It's a ripper. I love that one. I love Elvis and Juliet Prowse. And on the other side, some of you I know will like this one even better because there's a lot of big fans of Harum Scarum out there. That's a great poster, isn't it? So I was pleased to get that magazine. Not just the magazine, but the poster with it. It doesn't often happen, does it? Put that away. And the other magazine, I'll do a flip through of, is the other one that I bought. This is Uncut Legends. I think it's a British magazine, printed in the UK. Issue 5, 1095. It doesn't say when it is, but anyway. I haven't read this yet. I'll flip through it briefly. Doesn't look too bad. What's it say? Let me see. The Crown Jewels, Elvis's greatest hits, or greatest songs as picked by a panel of experts. Yeah, well, that's debatable, isn't it? The Early Days, The Big Bang, The Boy King, Crowning Glory, Fame, Honey, Alfred Wertheimer, The Army Years, Soldier Boy, Elvis Speaks, From Memphis to Merseyside, The Movie Machine, Elvis in Tinseltown, Elvis's co-stars, The Comeback King, The Second Coming, Comeback Special, Las Vegas, and Death, King of the Road, Death of Elvis, Elvis Forever, Love Me, List Me Tender, all the Elvis facts you've never heard, Elvis Buyer's Guide, and The Last Word. Yeah, so we will flip. Crown Jewels. Some quite good photos in this. That's a nice one. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this, if YouTube does block the music on this. You can hear it just enough to see who it is, and there probably is copyrights, although these songs are pretty old. So I don't know. Let's see. Elvis in 1956. Some early shots and all this dates. I don't like the way they've superimposed the photo over the Sun record, making Elvis look as good. Stripes on his trousers. Sam Phillips, his equipment. Yeah, Sun collection record. The $1 Million Quartet. I like the way this magazine's laid out. Gorgeous man. One of my favourite photos. Shouts, Screams, Fame, Money. I love them. Magazine original. What's this? Elvis and Melody Maker in 1957. Yeah. 6 months with the shooting star, that's Alfred Wertheimer. The photos that he took, which most of us are pretty familiar with. Probably the best photos that were taken of Elvis in the 1950s, I'd say. Down to 62. He was in the army in 1962. What are they on about? Oh, that's just the time period, I guess. GI Blue shot. There's a few magazines that have put that photo in saying it's Elvis in the army, and it's not. Tulsa McLean, not Elvis Presley. Here are some more reproductions of early newspaper clippings, or magazine clippings, or whatever. From Memphis to Merseyside. Oh, they got articles about the competition to Elvis and the English stars. To the King, Elvis is back. Poor Elvis is back. He went away. Well, he did in the army. Songwriters, okay. So there was Leiber and Stoller, and over here we've got Leiber and Stoller again. Is it Otis Blackwell, Mort Schumann, and Doc Pomus? Yeah. 63 is it? Celluloid Sirens. And the Colonel. Sounds of life. That's a good shot. What's that say? Second coming. Yeah, I haven't seen one of that with all those people around it. But when you watch the actual special on it, it doesn't look like there's that many people. It's quite a good shot. Well, the record's finished. I'm not going to stop this to flip it over because there's not much more to go in this magazine. Great photos, especially. What made Elvis number 3 look? No, I don't think they don't mean that. What made Elvis number 3? I think it's a number 3 section in the magazine. Yeah, so yeah, that's neat. I like these photos of Elvis as he's growing up. Yes, and then again we've got like a dates of things that happened. King of the Road. shot. Oh, here we are. What made Elvis number 4? The Interpreter. So yeah, just what they're saying are different interpretations of Elvis, I guess. Yeah. Different ways of looking at him, I suppose. What another word? A grievous angel. The death of Elvis, yeah. Okay. Elvis forever. The king may well be dead, but his style and music will live forever, and for some, he's a religious icon. Yeah. The impersonators, tribute artists and so on. Different fans have their say. What's this? Along with the King Elvis tributes. Yeah, oh, these are different. What's this? Elvis tributes. Cowboy Junkies. Queen Elvis. Elvis Presley Blues. Oh, they're songs, I think, that have been recorded as tributes to Elvis. Yeah. Elvis's weirdest songs. Yeah, okay. A whole lot of quoting to do. The stars, what they say with Elvis. Guide. What's this? The buyer's guide to Elvis, right. Huh. Definitive guide. They must have compilations, books and DVDs. Well, with sort of nearly 4,000 books and probably as many DVDs and CDs. It's getting harder and harder, isn't it? More and more expensive. So, it's 27 minutes. I have 3 minutes to go on this camera. I have this to flip through, which Tony let me to show you, but that's going to take a lot longer, so I'll finish this video and come back to you. Put some Elvis on the background, see how we go. Thanks for watching. Bye.